All right. Testing, testing, testing. Say something, Shane. You're like super quiet, Shane. Say something again. All right, so you are definitely on. Just for whatever reason, you're really quiet. Can you turn up your mic or something? Like, yeah, because I can hear you fine, but for whatever reason on the stream, it's really quiet. Oh, there we go. Oh, nice. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know why that is. People on stream, can you hear Shane at all? Test, test, test. Oh, that's weird. Let's see. Audio input. So you can't hear either of us? That's weird because I can hear myself on stream. Okay, they can hear me. They just can't hear you because you're real. I can hear you if I turn it all the way up. Weird. Okay, hang on. I'm gonna recapture you. Audio input capture, NDI source. Okay.
Keep talking, Reno?
Yeah, keep talking, Shane. Keep talking.
I will continue to talk until I need to stop talking, apparently, because microphones are a thing, and so is streaming.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah?
Okay, can people hear us now?
Can you hear me now?
Okay, I just had to re-import you for some reason.
Yep, I think we had to do that last time, too.
Yeah, weird. Okay, well, welcome everybody to a special episode of CanHammer TV. I'm Darren, I'm your host, and I'm joined tonight by Shane Watts. Say hello, Shane.
Hey, everybody, how's it going?
All right, Shane, of course, a fellow Custodies player, and although taking a break right now,
Yeah.
playing GSC, just finished 9 rounds at Nova with GSC.
Yep. I mean, it's still for the Emperor. I just have an extra arm at the moment.
four arms to be exact.
It's three or four, depending upon your hybrid.
Well, Shane, of course, doesn't have a working camera, so he is being represented by this drawing I made of him earlier that you see in the top right corner.
Oh, swanky.
In fact, that is in fact Constantine Valdor, and people have said that that actually looks like Eric.
Womp, womp, womp.
Unfortunately, Eric couldn't join us tonight, so it'll just be me and Shane. But that's okay. It's a nice little closure of the circle that we started a while ago when the Custodes beta rules were first released, and we did a little powwow online. And so now we're looking at the final release and to talk about that. So thanks for joining me again, Shane.
Yeah, no problem. Anytime.
Before we start, just wanted to shout out anybody watching from the Knights Pro Custodes chat. People I chat with all the time about Custodes. They're very eager to hear our thoughts on these new rules and possibly to hear some list ideas that we might have. So shout out, guys, for watching and for listening. And shout out, we have a couple of new patrons and everybody who follows us on YouTube and Twitch. Thank you very much. And as you know, this was a pretty impromptu. This wasn't on the schedule, but they literally dropped these rules the morning of Nova. It was just like, boom, here, have some Forge World rules. And we were like, what the fuck? And I think some people probably haven't even heard because they've just like finished Nova to driving home and they're like, what the hell? It's a little bit weird. What do you think about that timing, Shane? Like Saturday of Nova to just drop these rules out of nowhere.
I thought it was extremely awkward, but God, did I wish they took effect immediately, because there would have been some serious butthurt going on.
Yeah. So, like, literally, I woke up, it was like 5 a.m. or whatever, and then I saw these rules, and I was like, oh, like, where did this come from? This got to be fake. And then, because it hadn't been posted yet by Warhammer, so I was like, oh, maybe it's just like a bad joke. And then, sure enough, like an hour later, it was up, and yeah, it was weird, like just weird timing. But
It was funny for me because I got the email from Forgeworld that the Ares gunship had been released, and I was like, oh, cool, let me go check it out. And then I look at the PDF for the rules, and it's everything else.
Yeah.
At that point, I'm just like going gaga over Sagittarum.
because I went back to look at the other rules, and they were still all the old rules. It was just the Ares ones that included all the other stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was only different because they changed the title on the front to Imperator Defensor instead of Beta Rules.
Yep.
Yeah, so that was weird. Anyway, that was cool. What's up on stream to Bird Flu, George Gorgievsky, Bizarre 40K Beast, John Batch. Who else is on here? Snoop DeVille, welcome. Thank you for everybody for joining us. All right, well, let's get into it. We are, of course, coming as the first disclaimer from a position of playing pure Custodes. And that's how we're looking at these rules. And myself especially, I'm playing a lot of Custodes these days. And it's too bad Eric couldn't join us because I think he ended up doing pretty well at Nova, eh?
He did. Yeah, he was in the top bracket.
Yeah. So Eric, he didn't bring 11 Aquilon because he wanted to bring painted models. So he went back to his old school Wardens and Alaris list and ended up doing quite well. And there were, of course, triple Caladiuses out there, and so all the usual stuff at Nova. So, all right, let's dive right into it. When we can, we will refer back to our feedback that we made, if we remember, the original show we did on the beta rules, because some of those our prayers were answered,
Yep.
and some of them they were quite clearly unanswered or just egregiously disagreed with and gone the opposite direction. So we'll cover those things when we go. Let's start with troops. Okay, so first we'll talk about the custodian guards with the two spears. So the big changes, first of all, these guys used to be elites.
Yep.
And they are now troops. So, and we were like, these guys need to be troops, just like the same dudes, but with different weapon options. And that's literally what has happened. And that's also literally, you can just buy the spears from Forgeworld. So that's big. What do you think, Shane? That's big.
I think this is great because, one, we're actually in a troop. It's not a silly elite choice for no random reason. And now if you want to have deep striking melta-guns that are a troop choice, that's a thing.
Yeah. I think it's big for so many reasons. If you're still playing Battalion, which I'm not, but I might consider now, this gives your basic Guardian unit something useful to do. Something to shoot, a target to look at, or maybe even a big reason to run more than 3.
Yep.
And plus the price that all of them have basically gone down a little, although the new weapons bring them back to the same price. It just gives your troop slot that much more flexibility rather than just being your tax, you know?
Yeah.
So now you can run these. I still don't like the Meltas because it's just one shot, and although hitting on 2s re-rolling 1s means at least it's going to hit, not like most Meltas normally. And then 12-inch range meaning you only get the Melta in 6-inch, so even when you deep strike down, you can't get the Melta rule. So it's still not my favorite, but at least it gives us some of that strength X shooting back, which we, as we'll come to, have lost across the board almost.
Yeah. One thing I do really like about this, though, now is since they're a troop choice, if you're going to run a battalion and you have these troops and you have melta-guns, they're kind of like an Aquilon replacement almost, because you basically can drop down, you can use your 3-inch, Vexilla teleport, melta-gun the hell out of a knight, and then charge it.
Yeah. So you could run like a unit of I think these guys are limited to 5.
5, yeah.
Unfortunately. So you can't run them like a big 9 like you can for the Codex guys, which is kind of stupid. Like, oh, come on, guys. Anyway, so 5 of them shooting, 5 melta-guns, potentially doing like 20 damage, average. But that's still winning on 4s. But yeah, and you need to homer them to get in melta range, right?
Yep.
And that's assuming that guy has put his knight within 3 inches of the front line. So
Sure.
it's still not super great.
Sure.
But it's something. It gives like I said, your 150-something point unit something to do. And the other gun across the whole rules had the Adrasite weapons, and Adrathic weapons and Adrasite weapons have all lost their mortal wounds on a 1.
Thank God.
Which is great, because that was stupid. Because like a single mortal wound to a guardian unit is like, ugh, I feel it in the gut. And so that was really just stupid. But so they got rid of that, and I kind of like these guns a little bit, although they're a bit expensive. They are, let's see, Adrasite spears, 12 points each. So that's a little bit expensive, but they're basically like a Ravager with less range. So 5 minus 3, straight up 3 damage is pretty sick. And I really like these guys now for taking on these new and improved Marines.
I think the only thing I don't like about the Adrasite is that it's still only 1 shot per dude.
Yeah, I really don't like that. But it's like you have a unit of 3 guys, you can take out like 2 or 3 aggressors with it. Minus 3, straight up 3 damage now that they have 3 wounds each. It has some use. We'll see. If the rules come out at an interesting time when Marines are about to hit the meta hard.
Sure.
And keeping in mind that a lot of those players may be Knights players. So we might actually start seeing a lot less Knights and more Marines. And so we might be starting to pack these kind of guns, mid-range strength, good AP, decent 2 or 3 damage guns, instead of all the strength 7 and 8 that we've now lost. So who knows? I think we just have to see where the meta goes in terms of where these guns are. But I'm excited about these guys now.
I can definitely see that.
Yeah, I wish they would have let us run 9 of them, but anyway. Yeah, like that just seems weird. Like, why wouldn't you just make it like the Coda? Anyway, I guess we'll be happy for what we got.
Yes.
So generally, Custodians got cheaper. I think it's like $150 now for 3 normal Custodians. And I have to check my battle scribe. I can't do math on the spot. That's too much for me. But if you run them with the Adrasite, it got a little bit more expensive. But generally, I don't think a pure Custodians list will notice the points change that much in this troop slot. You're still going to have to commit, 2 HQs and like 500 points to running a battalion. So
Sure.
I'm still not 100% on battalion unless I think you beef up your troop and you don't run min slots anymore. Maybe 1 min slot for like your engineer or something at the back, but then you beef up the other 2 slots a little bit.
Actually, one thing I've been thinking about just because of the inclusion of more troops was running like 2 max squads of Sagittarum that we're going to get to here shortly.
Yeah.
And
So,
like a Guardian Bomb as the 3rd dropping in from reserve.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying, and we'll get onto the Sagittarum right now. I think with the Sagittarum now in the mix as troops, I think if you're going to run a battalion, the min is not the way to go anymore. I think you invest in your battalion then.
Yeah.
And you run a battalion that's going to do something as opposed to just get you 5 CP and sit on the back. which I was really, really against, as people know.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So, okay, let's go on to the Sagittarum now. So these guys used to be heavy support, which was stupid, right? And
Yes.
so we all wrote in, we're like, dudes, these guys have to be troops. And so sure enough, they are now troops. And in fact, they are pretty cheap. I think that they're 150 for 3 of them. And they are pretty decent. So they have this gun, basically, which is like a heavy bolter, Assault 3 heavy bolter, or like the Adrathic one-shot, which probably is less useful for these guys. So they can come in groups of up to 5 again. And so that's 15 shots, 15 heavy bolter shots that are assault. Hitting on 2s or 3s if you advance, which is pretty good. So I think these guys definitely have a role now if you're going to run a battalion. In fact, I think these guys now take the slot of the normal spear dudes.
Yep.
Like straight up swapping.
Yep. Agreed. I was super excited to see Sagittarum become troops because, like I said, that's what we talked about. That's what I was dreaming of. I had a lot of good experiences with them in their heavy support role when I was playing around with the beta rules.
Yeah.
So to be able to run them in a battalion now, I was ecstatic.
Yeah.
And the points drop.
So I think so a unit of 5 guys is going to run you 250, which is a lot, but you're getting 200 hard 250 to kill, and maybe 1 or 2 units of those, and then a third either of the spear guys or a big unit of guardians, depending on what else you have in your list.
Yep.
So now your battalion runs a lot of points, but at least it's going to be points that are doing something.
Yep.
Yeah, I like these guys. I think I'm going to order some tomorrow. Like, I don't know, 10 maybe. What size box do they come in?
10. They come in 5-mans, so 2 boxes
really?
maxes you out.
Because I would think that Forge will just release these in like boxes of 3, and then you're like,
that would
oh
be
no,
fucking terrible.
Would that surprise you though? That wouldn't surprise me at all.
I mean, it's not like they did that to Venatari or anything.
Yeah. No,
oh
exactly.
wait.
Oh yeah. So George, that's a good point. I think you have to run them with the Misericordia, otherwise these guys are wrap targets.
Oh, I
they
agree.
literally won't kill anything.
And this is something that I mentioned that when we were talking about in the beta rules too, that this is the one and only unit that I would always take a Misericordia on, because usually it's just I have extra points, so here's Misericordias to random dudes.
Yeah.
Versus this model actually gets a big benefit out of the Misericordia.
Yeah. So these guys do end up being a little bit more expensive than the normal spear guys because you have. I think it's mandatory. You basically run them with Misericordia, but if you don't, you're gonna cry when Genestealer Cult wraps your Sagittarum unit for 4 turns, and you're just gonna cry salty tears all the way to turn 6. So I think for sure these guys are going to straight up replace spear dudes for at least a couple of those battalion slots.
I mean, even with Misericordias, they're only 2 points more per model than a regular Custodian Guard.
Yeah. Yep.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, and that's not noticed in a pure list. I mean, a couple points here and there is totally not noticed.
Yep.
Yeah, and with Misericordias, they'll kill plenty of stuff that wants to try and tie them up.
Yep.
So yeah. I really like both these new troop slots. I think that gives us a lot of flexibility. I think it brings the battalion back. And when we get to the end, when we talk about lists, these guys might make my list. Me, Mr. No Battalion himself. I can take that away now because obviously our battalions have changed. So can't be held to the same standard after such a rules change. But
sure.
Yeah. Okay, let's go on before George gets too excited about the battalion on the stream chat there and does something silly. Okay. Let's talk about the 2 dreads, which, as far as I can tell, have not changed. Except, I believe the Dread Spear, the Aquilus' shooting spear, has got nerfed a little bit. Let me see, where is he? Yeah, so he used to be heavy 2. It got better. He used to be D3, heavy D3 on the Dread Spear, and now it's heavy 2. So a bit more reliable there.
I'll take that.
Yeah, but otherwise, I don't believe he's changed at all, and his points did not change. He's still probably the better Dreadnought at 140 points. Although I still find it hard to put these guys in the list.
Yeah, just the dreadnoughts have a hard time having a presence, really.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just I don't know. It's like there's so much stuff in here and so little points. It's hard to put it. I did run the Aquilus a couple of times, and it just happened to do really well. And I was like, "Fuck, this guy's awesome!" Like straight 3 damage, and but then it's like, oh, I could, yeah, I don't know. And with the basic troop got a little bit cheaper. I think now it's not even that much cheaper. Just sit at the back.
There is one other change that I noticed that I couldn't remember what exactly was, but the Galatis, the melee weapon changed. The
Yes.
the damage profile's the same, but they basically get more attacks now.
Yeah. So he gets D3 extra attacks instead of
I think it
exploding
was
sixes.
sixes. Yeah,
Yeah, so that's better. But he's still just a strength 7 guy instead of
Sure.
strength whatever 14. But
sure.
strength 7 minus 3, 3 damage. Like he'll kill some shot. He'll kill some
But
shit.
you remember what we were just saying about having middle of the road strength 2-3 damage weapons? We were
Yeah.
just talking about that for Marines. So
Yeah. So
there might be a
that
play
might be
here.
useful, and anywhere up to like 6, 7 attacks would be pretty nice.
Sure.
My biggest beef with this guy is he has the biggest storm shield in the Imperium, and it's only 4 plus invuln. Like literally, that guy's storm shield is as big as a Marine, and it's worse than a little dude's Winky storm shield.
They just they don't want to have dreadnoughts with 3 plus invulns anymore. They want them gone.
It's a gold dreadnought, man. It's gold.
I'm not saying that we shouldn't get it, but I'm saying I understand.
Yeah, I think there's some play, but I don't think he's going to find a way into my list at whatever point value he is.
Yeah.
Let me see. I don't think he changed at all point value wise. Galatus. Where is he? Galatus. 155. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's not expensive, but I'd rather have 3 Sagittarum.
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other thing is they don't have, because they're vehicles, they don't have they don't have OBSEC and they don't have Aegis. So
Yeah.
it really sucks. Yeah. All right. Well, let's move on. Let's talk about my personal favorite unit, the Aquilon, which I do not believe has changed at all, except if you buy the Adrathic, you won't get the Mortal Wound.
I
But I wasn't
think
running
their
it with them anymore.
costs went up.
Yeah, they went up 5 points, I believe,
Yeah.
which is fair. Not really. I don't like it, but of course I won't like it. But they definitely they were doing very well. I blame
Sure.
Eric on this one, by the way, for running 11 of them.
I mean, Jeff was running them too at BAO. He only had a 3-man, but
Yeah. So on my 5-man unit now, I'm paying an extra 25 points. But these guys are always worth their points. They're almost always the
Yeah.
MVP in almost all of my games. These guys are still, I think, our best choice for taking on T8 Knights.
I agree. Yeah, I
So-
mean the strength 10 freaking power fists that hit on 2s are unbeatable.
It's just so good, and no save, and
Yep.
so it's like if Knights just disappear from the meta, which I doubt they will, then these guys might not end up in my final list. But as long as I'm still seeing Knights, I'm still putting these guys in. And now with Strength 10, they're doubling out all your Gravis armor, Marines and stuff. So I still like these guys a lot.
I mean, they're still good. Even with the points increase, they're still good.
Yeah. Okay, so not too much to say about Aquilon because they're just still good. Let's talk about something we probably don't need to talk for too long, maybe, the Agamatus Custodians. So these are the Forgeworld super long bikes that unfortunately is still 120 points for the last Pulsar version. I think that went down to 115. I'll have to
It did go down a few points.
yeah, it went down like 5 points, which makes it way more reasonable. Not really. But let's take the last Pulsar version aside. The other versions are now 90 points, so the same points as the Hurricane Bolter bikers. And they're otherwise identical to the bikers. So the question is, do you run them with, say, the Lastrum Bolt Cannon, which is 36-inch heavy 3, 6 minus 2, 1? And I say no, because they're heavy.
I mean, no, because of heavy. No, because it's 3 shots versus like potentially 12.
Yeah.
Eh.
Yeah, it's just not good. And the other one's 18-inch heavy 2, 6 -3 3. Again, that's just not good. It's just not good. So
I
I
mean,
think,
yeah. I feel like because of how much strength 8 shooting is disappearing from us, that maybe there's some play with the Las Pulsar, but still probably not.
yeah, 120 points, man. Oh,
Yeah, they're very expensive for what they do. They're probably not worth it.
yeah,
But
and that's heavy too. So
eh,
you're gonna roll those twos and just cry.
I mean, yeah, story of my life.
God, I hate hitting on threes. It's just for scrubs. It really is. God, it's just a feel bad roll. Yeah, so I think these guys. I'm already trying to look for ways to get my biker unit out of my list, but they just serve so many purposes.
Yeah.
But these guys just don't make the cut. I'm sorry. The Agamatus Custodians still suck. All right, that's that page done. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about Venatari. So when the Venatari first came out, they seemed really good until everybody realized that they had 3-up save. And even with the buckler thing that ignores it turns -1 into AP0, right?
Yep.
That still was not great. And they were expensive, and it's like, these really suck. Like, amazing models, but universally, I have 6, but I never used them. I know you used them a little bit,
Yeah.
but they didn't last very long in your list either.
Um, yeah, like it definitely took a playstyle mentality because you really had to look for cover because they really needed it with the 3-up armor.
Yeah. Yeah.
But they were still pretty good.
Yeah. So now the Venatari have gone down. A Venatari model is now 40, and it used to be 48. The weapons are the same. So it has dropped 8 points per model, which is a pretty good drop. And the otherwise they're unchanged. And so now, especially if we're going to start seeing a lot of -1, like all Space Marine weapons are basically auto -1 now, that then makes them equivalent to a 2-up save with eating a -1. And they are 12-inch fly infantry, which is always useful to have fly infantry. They have decent attacks. There's pistol 2. Pistol 2 meaning you can shoot in combat. 6 -2, 2 damage, and unmodified score 6 is another hit. And then they do just as well in combat. Misericordia, basically. So it's like, that has some play. OBSEC flying, OBSEC troops. That has some play.
I agree. Yep. Like I said, I already liked them when I used them before. At one point, I had like 10 in one list, 2 5-mans. That's just the points were the problem then, and now that the points aren't as much of a problem now, I definitely think I want to try some more messing around with them. I definitely like the pistol variant better just because it's a little more versatile, but I think that the spears basically being Guardians plus at that point still have play as well because Guardian spears are still nasty.
Yeah, yeah. George is just saying that the pistol 2 is a bit like maybe one shot too few, but I think it's okay. I mean, yeah, obviously it'd be better if it was pistol 3 or 4, but it is an 18-inch pistol, which is kind of weird, but and there's a pistol, right? So you get stuck in, you can still shoot with it. So I think it's okay. It comes out to a grand total of 58 points, I think, because the pistol is 10 and the buckler's 8. So, but it's not over that 60-point mark like the old ones were. So I think there's some play in a troop list. I don't think they find their way into my non-battalion list, but they might find a way as a bike substitute maybe. Although the bikes are really good, they're much better than these guys. But so I'll see. Like, I have my 6 almost fully painted. Now I have reason to maybe finish painting them and try them out on the table.
Yep.
So we'll see. We'll come to that when I talk about my lists. Okay. The Pallas, I believe, has not changed at all.
No, it's exactly the same.
So what do you think about the Pallas? Some people are all in Pallas, 2-3 Pallas's every list, and I have yet to even build my Pallas. So I'm like, are they a bike substitute? Are they like, where do you think the Pallas really lies, other than a slightly obnoxious, crappier Way Serpent?
So Initially, when I played with the Palace with the beta rules, like when I was doing all my testing earlier in the year, I wasn't too thrilled because it doesn't have a lot of output.
Yeah.
Um, but after mucking around with a bunch of different lists, I found that they were really good as a third fast attack because it's only 100 points.
Yeah.
And the more I used it, the more it grew on me because I realized I have this 16-inch moving, effectively 2 bikes worth of wounds for the same price as 1 bike
Yeah.
unit that scores objectives easy, it scores recon easy, it can finish off a tank that's already damaged. And at one point, I started running 2 of them because it was worth it to me to drop 1 extra bike to have 2. That way, 2 of them combined could pick off a tank by themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I am going to build my palace and maybe grab 1 to 2 more. I think it definitely has play in as to add some speed, much needed speed to like a battalion foot list. For 100 points, that's like cheap for custodies, right? Like
Yes.
100 points is like super cheap.
It's like one of the cheapest units we can bring.
Yeah, it's like just as you said, 10 points more than 1 biker.
Yep.
So I think in a foot list, this is some much needed speed, objective grabbing, recon grabbing. I wish it was OBSEC, but it's not.
Yeah.
But, that I think, charge into things, tie them up, make them fall back, be kind of annoying like wave serpents.
Yep. Yeah, I definitely used it as like a disruption unit more than anything.
Yeah, I think the real you have to use all the grav tanks and custodies like that for max effect. The Caladius can sit back and shoot, but it is way better if it also disrupts things and shoots at the same time. So I think the Palace does add some speed that our army lacks. And of course you can use them as screen too at the -2 to charge. That's very useful with some tango foots behind them. So that's they're not that hard to kill, but 5 invul helps that a little bit. So yeah, I think palaces are good. I don't think they fit in my other list, but they would definitely, I would find 100 points for at least 1 in a foot list. Yeah, I like Palace. So they have not changed. Okay, everybody's favorite tank now, the Caladius. Okay, so the Caladius has changed in a number of ways. First of all, it's now 12 power instead of 10, whatever. It has, its stats itself are unchanged. The gun has been nerfed. So so interestingly enough, nobody used the Arachnus, but that actually gained 4 shots, but lost 12 inches in range. No, other way around. Yeah, so they improved the Arachnus Heavy Blaze a little bit in range, but they took away 4 shots from the burst profile. And the heavy one is now D3 plus 3 damage, which is pretty nice. That's like 4 to 5, like 5 to 5 damage average, which is pretty sweet. But it's still not as good as the Twin Accelerator. Now, the Twin Accelerator has been changed. So it used to be 60-inch range, 8 shots, 8 -3 D3, which was obviously very good. And now it is strength 7 -3 and straight 2. Straight 2 way better than D3. No Custodians player is going to argue about that.
Nope.
That is like the number one thing I wish they would change about all our freaking D3s.
Yep.
But strength 7, some people are like, oh, it's not a big change. It's a big change.
Huge.
Dropping strength 8 to strength 7. First of all, you don't shoot this at nights anymore. Although it was not great at nights before, it is even worse now.
Yep.
Now it does not double out T4 anymore, which is a big deal.
Yep.
Auto hitting, auto wounding with Valoris, basically killing anything, right? T4 below. But with flat 2 now, it's very nice for Primaris, because I hate rolling that D3 and getting a 1 and soaking up 2 hits on the Primaris. So to be honest, this was not the tank you were shooting at T8 before. You might try if you needed to ping some wounds. That's what the Telamon was for. So this hasn't really changed that very much. It just makes it even more obvious now that you don't shoot this at nights unless you really need to. But it's not doubling out T4 is a bit of a deal, but I think I'm okay with that. Still 8 shots.
I think the other thing is because of the fact that it's down to 7, it also makes it against other tanks is worse because now you're only
Yeah,
wounding on 4s typically.
that's right.
And it was really good versus other tanks before.
It was. Yeah, like
And
wounding other tanks on 3s was really a feel bad moment.
yeah,
The
especially at -3.
Yeah. So in exchange for all this, it's gone up only 10 points. So we can breathe a sigh of relief. It's not 40 points and a gun nerf, in which case it would be really, really bad.
Yes.
But I think now it is still in my list. And we'll talk about the Telamon, but I think a third Caladius replaces a Telamon now.
I mean, it's still our longest ranged like
Yeah.
unit.
Yes, it's still 60-inch range. They didn't nerf that like they did the Telamon. It still flies super fast. It's still obnoxious to run into flyers and then fall back and tie things up and get recon. It's still, and if you're not, you have to use it that way too for maximum effect. So it's still one of the best tanks I think out there. Still -2 to charge. Still gets your Vexilla -1 to hit. So it's still a pain in the butt. It's just not quite as overpowered as it used to be, which is good because maybe less people will bandwagon it now.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to see like 70 of them at a major.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Some people thought, well, maybe we should change to the other gun, but while the 5 damage is tempting with only 2 shots and 48-inch range, I don't think it's that tempting. That's not going to be killing knights.
What's even the cost difference on that now?
So the twin Arachnus heavy blaze cannon is now 100 points. Oh, fuck that.
What the
Twin
fuck?
Arachnus heavy blaze cannon. Twin Arachnus heavy blaze. Yeah, it's 100 points. Okay, forget that. Let's not even talk about
What?
that. Is that a typo? Shit, 100 points?
Well, wait. That's 20 points more than the Elastis, so we'd be paying 240.
Yeah, no.
So that's not
It's not too bad.
terrible.
But it's just not worth it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's still back down to 48 inches, which is still better than what it used to be.
So
But still, 2 shots is.
it's basically the Telamon gun, but with less range and half the shots. So, yeah, I don't think it replaces the accelerator.
Yeah.
So, Caladiuses are still good. They are slightly less versatile than they were, but still extremely versatile. You're still gonna mow down with 8 shots any unit other than a knight. And so I still think it's extremely good, and especially if you use them like Wave Serpents, I think they're still obnoxious, and I still love them. Well, I don't know if supers will be playing Triple Caladius anymore. We'll see.
Hopefully not, because
Hopefully
most of
not.
the time they were shooting them at nights.
Yeah, yeah. So and they were not good at nights. So yeah. So I think the Caladius is still good, and I still love it. Still a fast unit that can help us be mobile and recon and stuff like that. I always take recon now because I know my 2 Caladiuses will get me recon all the time. Yeah. Okay, so I think that covers the Caladius. So there was a lot of moaning that didn't go up enough points, and of course these people who probably just didn't really think about the gun change quite clearly. But yeah, I mean, this is one of the things that took us away from killing T8 is
Yep.
this drop. It wasn't our T8 killer, but it means we're even worse at killing T8. So I think fine. You know, it is what it is. Caladius. I still love it. Okay. Oh, okay, I have to prepare for this. Okay, before we do the Telamon, let's just do the Corona's Grav Carrier. I'm not sure this has changed. I don't know. I only know one person who owns one. Do you know anyone who has a Corona's Grav Carrier?
I have one, but it's not painted at all. But that's no surprise because my painting is not great anyway.
Yeah. I'm not sure if it's changed. I think it went down in price.
Let's see. The profile looks pretty much the same so far.
200 Corona's Grav Carrier 200. Yeah, I think it's the same. And
Okay.
I still think it's not needed in our army. So yeah, we don't. Have to
I mean,
talk about it.
yeah, it's okay.
Okay, let's talk about the Telamon. Okay, Telamon. No, my baby Telamon.
Press F.
Okay, so the Telamon, for whatever reason, I'm not sure who was like rocking the world with Telamons, but got nerfed big time, like to the point of unplayability now. I think the Telamon is dead. I've been shooting around this meme of somebody who threw a Telamon in the garbage with bare feet on for some reason. And that is definitely the meme of the week because literally, if it wasn't so well painted, I would throw mine away. And if it wasn't such a beautiful model, but it just got slapped the fuck out. This Telamon. Oh my god. Okay, so let's go over it. So he went up a power, whatever. He went up in points for the same loadout, which I thought he needed to come down. But anyway, so he went up in points for the Storm Cannon loadout that most people were using.
Sure.
He stats-wise is the same.
Well, except for the movement.
Yeah, so no, I just confirmed. It used to be 8-inch move, so I guess I was just
He was
cheating.
8? Okay.
I was just cheating.
Okay.
Okay, so the Storm Cannon has had its ranges halved. That in itself already makes him useless next to a Telamon, next to a Caladius. To go from 72 to 36 is catastrophic. It really is not good.
You're trying to tell me that you thought he was better when he had 72-inch range?
Yeah. Because, like, this dude is just a walking gun platform that doesn't have machine spirit. So he doesn't want to move. So he never did. You just park on a back objective and shoot stuff. And so now with 36-inch range, that really sucks. Like, that is, like, the biggest kick in the balls for the Telamon, really. Apart from everything else, he only goes half the range he used to do.
Yep.
And so 24 inches with his burst range, which really sucks. Most of my games, I never shoot the thing on the top because I'm never in range of anything.
Yep.
So now, like, literally half the gun profile is also gone. It's just so bad. Okay, and then on top of that, it got nerfed from strength 9 to strength 8, which is a big deal. Now, he does reroll against vehicles, which is what this was our knight shooter, right? Like, you could do 9 to 12 wounds with a knight. You one-shot 10 commanders.
Yep.
This was our knight killer, and now it does not do that even half as reliably. It's just not good. And you will not get close to the knight before it blows you off the table. So, yeah, it's just really bad. Before we go on, the Caladius, of course, is still good at killing Eldar flyers. Yeah. Anyway.
True.
So, yeah, so the Telamon double kicking the balls there. The other gun is no better, didn't get buffed or anything. So it really is, it just got kicked. And then everything was more expensive too. So now, of course, people are like, well, why don't you run it with double fist? While that sounds fun, doing 20 damage in one round of combat with a Telamon with fists, first of all, you got to get it there. So you're spending a CP to deep strike it. You better teleport Homer that motherfucker, because if you fail a 9-inch charge, which you probably will, you're going to cry. And then he's not going to one-shot a knight, which Aquilon will easily do. And it's still like a crazy amount of points. So, yeah, I'm sorry. It's just not good for that. Yeah.
I mean, you could just run him up the field.
Poor Telamon. Yeah. Oh, poor Telamon.
Oh, God.
So I'm sorry, guys. The Telamon is dead until it gets revived. Like Rob Symes' heart as Capital City Bloodbath, it is dead and is out of my list right already, which is a shame because I really loved my Telamon.
Yeah.
It never died. Nobody ever shot it. They're like, "What the fuck? That thing's like a knight." I'm like, "Yeah," and yeah, it's just so dead. I don't know. People are welcome to disagree with me, but I can't see how this thing is anywhere near worth its points now. And it's all heavy and it can't move and shoot without the -1. It needs somebody to babysit it. Tied up in combat easily.
Yep. Yeah.
Yep. Rip Telamon.
F. Just pure F.
Okay. Orion dropship. So I think they would have left the Orion alone if it weren't for these triple Orion dudes, or even double Orion dudes going around tabling people in like 2 turns with Orions. Come on, guys! Like, give it 6 months before you like do stuff like that. It's like, the Orion. I believe the only change on the Orion is that it went up in points. Everything else is the same.
I think the Arachnus cannon changed as well, but it did go up that 40 points, I think, is the other change.
Okay, yeah, so the Orion, 280, and now it is 320. Yeah, so it went up 40 points.
Yeah, 40 points.
And then the Arachnus Heavy Blaze is now it's Bevy Blaze, they spelled it wrong. 50 points, whereas it was 50 points, so that's the same. So I think it's mostly the body went up 40 points. Yeah, so and the big change, and people may not have even noticed this, it's no longer a Lord of War. So as a Lord of War, of course, it can't be boots on the ground because it's not a flyer, and it can hold objectives. And now it is a flyer, so now you can get boots, considering you spent over a quarter of your points on a flyer, and it can't hold objectives. That's a big deal.
Yep.
Yeah. So I think people will stop bringing these, and I hope people didn't spend $500 on them, like I did. But I only have one, and I bought it. I'm not even gonna play it. I just bought it because I want the model. But yeah. So once again, the big Forgeworld models get toasted, and it's only 40 points. But 40 points on something so expensive is enough.
Yeah, I mean, it still does shoot a lot of shots.
Yeah, still shoots a lot.
I had the pleasure of playing against 2 of them with triple Caladius at Nova, and let me tell you, the Orion were far, far worse for me because it's just so many fucking shots.
Yeah. I think you might see 1, maybe 2. I think the triple is dead as a list idea. It probably was dead anyway. Like, that wasn't winning GTs. But I think 1 maybe. It's still a lot of points, but you could put all your foot dudes in there and then splash them out when it dies. I think it has some play still. But then you really got to be careful for boots on the ground.
Yeah.
Because you don't have a lot of other models as it is. And so I think that change is probably more significant than people think. But at least you don't need to take a separate detachment for it. But yeah, I mean, was a bit.
Not that was ever a problem.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so that is the Orion. Okay, so let's talk about this new one. This is the Ares gunship, which is the shooty version of the Orion, basically. That was just released for pre-order at the same random discounted awesome price of $550 Canadian, which is what, $20 US, $30 US.
That sounds about right.
Man, it's expensive. It's not even in keeping with other Forgeworld models that are that size or bigger that are less the cost. Like, I don't understand where that price came from, but anyway, it's just inhibited. Like, they can't blame people for not buying these things for realsy because it's just stupid. Like, yeah. Anyway, okay. So the Ares basically has similar stats to the Orion in terms of its stat line. It is, of course, a BS2 flyer, but it does have heavy weapons, but it has machine spirit. Yeah. Okay. So this thing is pretty interesting. So keeping in mind that it shoots at ballistic skill 2 and might have a reroll 1, so it might be auto hitting. So the blaze cannon, I think, is the same.
It is.
No, it's a heavy blaze cannon. Yeah. So this, of course, is the one shot, but it has 2 of them.
Yeah, same as the Orion.
Yeah. So it has 2 shots, 9 -4, D3 +3, rerolling wounds against vehicles. So it's still going to do, 20 wounds. No, 2 shots. Yeah. Like 10 wounds to something, which, okay. Like, that's not even going to one-shot a knight. And then it has this Magna Blaze Cannon, which is D3 shots at 14 -4, D3 +6. So it's like an average of 8 damage with, and it only has 1 of these D3 shots. So let's say, 16 damage. That's kind of fun. Again, it's not overwhelming. It's not like a volcano lance or or even a shadow sword maybe,
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you run into something with an invuln and it drastically is worse.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I just saved both of your shots. And I'm like, ah, shit.
Rip.
Now, interestingly, it has a bomb, the Infernus Firebomb. Once per turn, it can drop in Firebomb as it flies over something. And it can do this twice in a game, which is kind of cool. Most bombers, I think, is just one time. And a d6 for every model in that unit up to a max of 20 dice. 3 for a vehicle or monster, and a 4-up suffers mortal. So it's a decent bomb, and you can do it twice. So that's pretty good. And it does have hover, so it won't fly off. And it has a 5-up invuln as usual, -1 to hit, all the usual stuff. So, and it is a flyer, not a Lord of War. They learned their mistake the first time. And the Ares is... Oh, it's on the back of the sheet. The Ares is 315, so it is 5 points cheaper than the Orion. And it has the Heavy Blaze, of course, and the Magna Blaze is free. So it's actually 5 points cheaper than the Orion. What do you think of that?
Well, actually, wouldn't it be a lot less than the Orion? Because you're not buying the other guns as well.
Oh, yeah. No, you're right. Yeah. So, yeah, you don't have to buy the...
I mean, for better or for worse, because I definitely would prefer the extra guns.
Where did I put that sheet now? Oh, shit. I misplaced it.
Let's see. So the Heavy Blaze is 50 each. So it would be...
Heavy Assault in the Twin Lastrum. You're not buying Heavy Assault in the Twin Lastrum.
So it's 415 total for the Ares?
Yeah, so Twin Lastrum was 20 points, and the Spigless Heavy Launcher was 14. So you're saving 34. So you're saving 39 points off of a normal Orion.
Okay. That's significant.
Still over 400 points. So, yeah, I think... Is it the same kit?
It looks like it's different because the...
Is it smaller? Like, it looks smaller, but I'm not sure. I haven't seen one, obviously.
It's the... It might be about the same size, but since that back compartment's open for the bomb...
Yeah.
And the nose gun is clearly different.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a different kit.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, yeah, don't you have to buy a million kits for everything you do, right?
Yeah, exactly. So what do you think of that, Shane? You're going to run an Ares gunship?
I mean...
Think you need... Like, which do you think shoots more? I think the Orion just shoots more.
It has a lot
bigger.
more shots.
This shoots bigger, but could be easily invulned out.
Sure.
I'm not sure how much of a big deal the transport capacity is. The bombing is nice. So
I think the one thing that's cool about the bomb is since it's up to 20 dice,
yeah.
I mean, you are potentially rolling a lot.
Yeah.
And with it being on 4s, if it's like an orc freaking boys squad, boom, there's 10 mortal wounds.
Mm-hmm.
Done.
Yeah. 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 No, I think it has a role. I'm not gonna buy another one. Like, it's crazy. It's just too much money.
Well, I definitely was gonna proxy my Orion as an Ares for some testing. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll see. I'm not a big fan of either of these two flyers, but I think it gives you a bit of flexibility. But we'll see. I think just the Orion is a little bit more flexible, has a bit more targets. And just more shots is always better in general in 40K. So
yeah.
Okay, so that is all the new units. So what's your overall impression? Because these are now final. These are not another draft.
Thank God.
What do you think, Shane?
I'm pretty happy at this point. I am really sad about the Telamon overall because I also really like the Telamon. But overall, I'm pretty happy with it, and I'm happy that it's not beta anymore, so people can't be like, you can't use that because that's not official rules.
Yeah, the only thing that's still against this is it's Forgeworld, and so like ETC still says you can't use it, even though it's GW rules. It's just Forgeworld rules. But anyway, so yeah, I mean, I agree. I think overall, the Telamon was the only casualty. And so just accept that. But everything else, like the Caladius, was kind of the same-ish, maybe
I
a
mean, it
little bit
got
worse.
worse. It got
Yeah, it
worse,
got worse, but it's
but
still
it's
good.
okay. Yeah.
And everything else is way better. I think it gives our mono custodies builds a lot more flexibility. I think it brings battalions back quite possibly.
Yeah.
So I think overall this was good, and I agree. Now it's not like a beta thing. People can't like be all crazy about it. And quite clearly, now it's way obvious that GW wrote these rules, not Forgeworld. Because if it was Forgeworld, the Telamon would have went to 800 points. So I think that overall, I'm happy with these finalized rules. Now all we need is like, a new book with Sisters of Silence or something. I don't know. Wish listing.
Sure.
We still need some psychic defense, but anyway.
I mean, you got some assassins to bring for that.
I don't know. If I bring back the battalion, maybe then 2 CP is not such a big deal. But
Exactly.
yeah. So, okay. So, people wanted to know, so I'll give the people what they want. So, my list previous to this was my no battalion list. Because previous to this, I strongly felt that a battalion was a trap. Just an expensive way of getting 5 CP. So I was running Valoris, Vexilla, 1 Shield Captain, and 5 Aquilon, 5 Bikers, 2 Caladius, and a Telamon. And I actually done extremely well with this against a lot of bad matchups. The Forgeworld units really gave us a way of having ways of tackling matchups that used to just table the fuck out of us, like Knights and Tau and Eldar Flyers, and so that was great. And I only lost one of those games against Dominique and his Death Watch by 1 point. So I was super happy with it. So now, how does my list change? Well, I personally feel like my list is untouched, except the Telamon gets replaced by 3rd Caladius. Because the Caladius probably does what the Telamon used to do now, and gives me more mobility, and I'm not beholden to this big thing stuck at the back, which was always a difficult part of playing my list, was when to leave the Telamon alone and break the castle and start to move forward. That was always a crux decision point in all my games, and so now that becomes much easier because now I got 3 super mobile tanks. And I still have Aquilon to kill T8. Knight Commander sitting at the back is a problem, but Caladiuses can do a little bit to them and degrade them a little bit, or just ignore them. But so I think that list itself, trying to maintain the same no battalion ethos, basically stays like that. Or that 220 points goes to something else, like a unit of Melta Spears, or a unit of Sagittarum Guard, or maybe another unit Aquilon. Like, there's flexibility in that Telamon replacement, depending on what the meta changes to, because now the meta is going to change a lot with the Marines coming out.
Yep.
So that's where that list is right now. I'm going to start with the 3rd Caladius, but that slot is flex. That 220 points there is flex. Can be any one unit of something else, depending on what rears its ugly head in the meta. Maybe even a couple Pallas tanks, That might be nice, actually.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where that list stands. But the other list I've been banding around now is going back to the battalion. And as we discussed earlier, so your basic is Valoris, Vexilla. Those are like mandatory. I feel like a shield captain with the 3 invuln is mandatory. That's your 2 HQs and an elite slot right there. And then your battalion, as we said, maybe like 2 units of Sagittarum Guard, with like a big unit of Melta Spears, or a big unit of normal Guardians, like 7 to 9 guys. I just don't like losing guys to morale, but anyway.
Sure.
But now you have more CP to spend on morale. But still, like, losing a whole custodian to morale is just, it's not a nice feeling.
I mean, if you're in range of that Vexilla, you can reroll.
That's true. I don't know why we don't get to reroll anyway.
I mean, we're not Astartes.
No, we're not Astartes. Yeah, we're just like way better than them, apparently. So now your battalion is taking up like, 600 to 700 points, like without the HQs. maybe even up to half your army, depending on how big you want those units. And then you're filling the rest with maybe Pallas tanks. I still think an Aquilon unit makes its way into every list. How else are you going to deal with triple knights? And maybe some bikes or maybe some Venatari. I think there's play in that. I think there's definitely play now in a unit of Venatari, maybe 4 to 6 Venatari. So what do you think? What kind of list, if when you're coming back to Custodians, Shane, what kind of list are you looking to try out?
Actually, I'm like super excited to run a battalion now with the Sagittarum change. I think probably the first list I'm going to want to test is going to be a battalion with 2 max Sagittarum with a Guardian Bomb. I might actually try the Melta-Spears first before I go to like a 7 to 9 Guardian Bomb. And then I probably would have a squad of Aquilon, and then I think I'm just going to go like full Birdmen at that point. However many points I have left. Just bring all the rest as Venatari.
Let's see, 9. So like a full unit of spears is like 500 points, probably. Then 2 units of Sag is like another 500. Then you got your... So you're probably, after Aquilons, you're probably not going to have space for more than like 3 or 4 Venatari.
Aw, damn.
But you could always, I mean, do you need 9 spear guys? Maybe
nah,
6,
not really.
6 or 7. Probably don't need 9. 6 or 7 reduces the effect of morale. 4 Aquilon. And then maybe you could fit like 2 units of 3 Venatari or like a unit of 6 or something. That might be a cool list to try out. Very pretty mobile. 2 big deep strikers. Gives you some backfield holding. I think that would be super fun. A very cagey list to play. Like you can't just charge forward and hope to survive.
Yeah.
I think that would be pretty fun because those spears going in with plus 1 wound. I think I haven't used that stratagem in a long time. I think they get plus 1 wound, right?
It's plus 1 wound.
Yeah, so I think that's very useful. That's always a stratagem that I really loved, but I never found good enough reason to run a whole bunch of spears.
Yep.
So that's nice. And now you can use all the Trixie's things because you got way more CP. So, yeah, I think that has some play. And I might have to play a few games bringing back the old battalion in the Venatari. Maybe if you got an extra 100 points in there, throw a Pallas in there for some mobility.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Yeah,
I got a few of them already ready to go, so might as well, right?
Yeah, I got to find my Pallas. It's sitting somewhere. I haven't put it together. So myself right now, I'm going to buy probably another Pallas tank. So I have 2. I don't think I'm ever going to run 3, but so I have 2, and then I'm going to finish my Venatari. So I have 6 of those, and then I'm going to buy 10 Sagittarum probably. And then I think I'm finally done. Like I say this every time, but like, damn, they just keep coming out with more stuff. I think that puts me almost to 10k points in terms of how much Custodians I own.
Oh, God. I don't even know how many points I have at this point.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, so I think that's where my 2 lists lie. I think one is fairly flex with 220 point flex. And then the other is actually going back to the battalion, doing foot list, maybe a couple of vehicles, trying to Venatari out. I think there's a lot of play in that, and see how that goes in the latter end of the season. We've got a number of one-dayers coming up over the second half of the season locally, so hopefully I'll be taking some of those lists to try out against some of the probably spam Marine lists that are going to suddenly appear. Yeah. I don't mind Guardian Spears against Marines, wounding on 4s, -1, 2 straight damage. It's pretty nifty. It's nice to take out intercessors with just 1 shot.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so we'll see. I think Marines are way better now at killing us with, -1 across the board and a lot of -2s. Even freaking chainswords doing like -1 AP is like gross. So a bit scared of Marines. I think they're able to kill us a lot better now. Like a relic Scorpius shooting like 3 times. It's gonna like kill your 3 Guardians at the back, hiding out of line of sight.
That's why you don't have 3 Guardians anymore.
Yeah. So yeah, so we'll see how it goes with the new Marine meta. If we see less knights, then that might be nice too, as an
Yeah.
offshoot. All right. So, anybody on stream have any questions to ask of us while we're waxing lyrical about Custodes? What's your next event, Shane? You were just got back from Nova.
There is an RTT coming up in about 2 weeks that I'm gonna go to. I'm probably still gonna mess around with the GSC a little bit more because I kind of like honed in on exactly what I was doing over the course of Nova because I still was figuring out up through then.
What kind of GSC list are you running?
So I was running a Rusted Claw list with 35 bikes and 20 aberrants, and then all the associated characters and stuff. And with Rusted Claw, it's a little more durable, so that was kind of an interesting way to play GSC.
Yeah.
But I think I'm going to flex a little around, play around with some Twisted Helix, tack in some more aberrants maybe.
Nice. Yeah, I never bought my GSC because I just don't think I could play it very well. I'm not that smart, I don't think. And I know I get the sneaking suspicion they're gonna get wasted by chapter approved.
We'll see, I guess.
Everything just seems way too cheap. You get way
That is
too much.
quite
You get
quite
way
cheap.
too much. It's like, yeah. So I don't know. I think a whole bunch of things are gonna go up just a little bit, and it's gonna add up to a big change. But we'll see. I think they'll survive. Suklamik, I cannot come to Warzone Montreal. Unfortunately, I'm away that weekend. I would have loved to bring some of this new Custodes tech to Quebec, but unfortunately, I can't make it. But yeah, we will be, for people who are listening who are local, Dan at Red Dragon has just published today the year's calendar of events in Ottawa. Every month we're having an event, and so there's going to be lots of 40K for people to play. I think Chris is going to Warzone Montreal. You'd have to ask him to confirm, but I think he is going. Cool. Well, thanks very much, everybody, for watching. Thank you, Shane, for joining me for Custodes Part 2.
Anytime, especially when the Golden Boys are involved.
Yeah. Thank you very much for joining me and talking about all these units. Thanks very much, everybody, for watching. Hope you enjoyed that go through. If you got questions, just hit me up. You can find me on Facebook. As I mentioned, I am on a few Custodes chat groups, and you can find me. You can watch all my stuff here, replay on Twitch or on YouTube. All the casts, my original cast was Shane, and all my recent bat reps playing Custodes against other armies. So I don't know, channel's turning into a Custodes channel, which is cool. That's fine by me. And so thanks very much, everybody, and we'll wish you a good night.
See you later.